Are watching the Doctalk show.
Did you know that Uganda is currently suffering a double burden of malnutrition? What does this mean? We have a growing number of young people who are undernourished, or in layman's term, thin or small. But we also have a growing number of people who are overweight, too big. So these two disease entities comprise malnutrition. To tell us more about malnutrition are two nutrition experts in the field. We have Miss Nantege Regina, a private practicing dietitian who works with private practice.
Yes.
And you have lots of experience in nutrition and diet therapy. And we have Mr. Kauba Arnold, who has previous experience of working with international nutrition firms and is currently based at the Royal DSM company in Switzerland. So you're most welcome to the show, Mr. Arnold and Ms. Regina.
Thank you.
Yes, so without wasting further time, this is a very interesting topic, nutrition, and malnutrition specifically, because it affects everyone, all right? And people are really not aware of the impact of nutrition or the food we're eating. Are we eating healthy enough, or are we overeating or eating too little? So, Regina, could you tell us what exactly is malnutrition? Why is it such a big concern?
So malnutrition is such a big concern because it's not just about how we look on the outside as most people perceive it, but it's also about what's inside, how your body is going to function, etc. So if you lack a particular nutrient, it's actually affecting the function of your body. Okay. So you realize that, as we would explain further, we are going to have situations of someone just not being overweight, but if they have low iron, they're also anemic. So that's also a case of malnutrition. So it won't just be about the body image.
So, in Africa, there's a common thinking that people who are big, they are very healthy and powerful status. But is that always the case? I know.
Absolutely not. It is, it's quite, it's alarming, I think, because you often find yourself in a house, same household, and the child is underweight and the mother is overweight. And when the mother is overweight, it means that she's more susceptible to diseases like diabetes, heart failure, things that we see on the rise in this country that has plenty of nutritious foods. Did you know that in Uganda, we lose about 5.6% of our GDP every year due to malnutrition-related causes? Because kids repeat classes, and we don't. Society is not productive, and 5.6% means about $900 million US.
If that's the case, who is at risk exactly for this malnutrition?
The infants are at the biggest risk because we have to feed them right through their first stages of life. This is when they're growing, this is when they're developing. And so if we get it wrong, we have a lot of problems arising. And of course, the mothers who are feeding these children, they are the biggest risk groups. And we have different definitions of what will be happening for this child. For example, if a child is not getting breastfed, like you said, the brain productivity is not there because this mother is not giving the antibodies and nutrients that would support brain growth. So if they don't get the breast milk that has the right antibodies for them, and they get maybe formula feed that doesn't have these antibodies, then they're missing out on the antibodies that would boost their immunity. So that's where the link is.
So those are mainly for the children, the babies who are born.
The babies who are
So
born.
if they don't breastfeed, they become malnourished and they miss out on the
Yes.
mother's protective
Yes,
antibodies.
they're more susceptible to diseases.
And Dr. Darius, if I can just add, I just really want to emphasize the criticality of breastfeeding. It should be exclusively done in the first 6 months of life. And this is evidence from the World Health Organization. This is the Bible of health in the world. So when you don't breastfeed your child, this means that this child is going to suffer lifelong consequences. If you look at a brain scan of a child that's been breastfed, and I've seen this, it's the most scary thing. A child that's not been breastfed, their brain is this small.
Babies are a critical group of people in society where we have to be absolutely sure of how we're feeding them. And it has been highlighted, breastfeeding is very important to such people. But other than infants, could there be any other groups of people who are at risk of this malnutrition?
The mothers will be the next group because of the fact that they have, for example, if they're breastfeeding, we're going to come back to that, to the breastfeeding. If a mother is breastfeeding a child and they're giving this child calcium to build their bone, and this mother is not eating the calcium, so basically this mother is at a loss because they don't have the calcium, but they're providing calcium for the milk, for the baby. So many mothers especially will realize later on in life that they have weaker bones because they didn't get the calcium.
I want to say all of us are at risk. All of us are at risk. Because many of us suffer what we call hidden hunger. Hidden hunger is a form of malnutrition. It's called micronutrient deficiencies. This is when your body doesn't have enough vitamins and minerals to basically survive.
Maybe to add to that also, when we think of micronutrients, we think of things like minerals, iron, for example. For you to get enough iron in a day, you have to eat very many different foods that are rich in iron to get the number that you want for the day. So you realize that for many of us, when we say iron, oh, I eat some beans, or I eat some millet, or buga, or I take hibiscus, and they think it's sufficient. Yet the volumes in which you're supposed to eat this iron-rich food are much more than you think you are doing. So you end up finding that many of us, despite having a few iron-rich foods in the diet, we still have cases of anemia.
If you have any questions, please send them onto our social media platforms on Facebook, on Twitter. We'll be happy to respond to each one of them. So don't go away. We'll be right back.
You are watching the Doctalk Show.